From day one, we are told who we should be, how to live, and what's acceptable. Before we even have a chance to discover ourselves, our society has already drawn those lines for us. But what happens when those lines are keeping us from knowing and embracing who we truly are? Welcome to Unbox Yourself with Samantha Fox, a podcast about unpacking and unlearning everything that's kept you from living as your true self. Through honest conversations about your internal emotional landscape, sexuality, coming out later in life, relationships, and the journey to self-acceptance, we break free from the boxes we never chose. Good morning, Joe. So nice to see you.
Hi, good morning, Sam.
So I wanted to have you on and chat with you because I know the last time we chatted, you had shared your kind of like newfound place in exploring your sexuality, which had taken many years to arrive to, but you finally were in this place where you were really finding a way to explore your sexuality. And while you and I had worked together in the past, and there was a curiosity as to whether or not you were more more lesbian or more female centered, sapphic centered, you also found in this exploration of your sexuality that you had been doing that you also were really open to men and men and women. And what we had talked about was that you were, newly discovering this submissive way of being sensual and sexual that actually felt really good for you and was really bringing you a lot of pleasure, and that you were exploring this within a very safe space, which was within the kink community.
Yes.
And that felt really good. And you were having, a lot of just newfound discoveries about yourself, and the place you were, I guess, kind of pressing up against was like, okay, I've been doing this now for a while. I've realized these things about myself. And I kind of want to somehow now bring this with me into a relationship. I'd like to start to find somebody to have. I don't just want to have these one-off sexual encounters that have been so educational for me and informative, but I really want to have a partnership with somebody. How do I merge this newfound submissive part of myself with an actual relationship where I don't end up doing what I've done historically, which is becoming a caretaker for people, because that then kills my connection to my sensual side, right? So
right. The libido goes out the window.
Yeah. And so that was that was a lot of what we talked about. And then recently you had reached out to me, and this was in response to, I think it was episode 5 on the Unbox Yourself with Samantha Fox podcast, where I released an episode where I shared some very personal experience from my own history of CSA and whatnot, and how that affected my sexuality and coming into myself. And, I put it out into the world, and you had emailed me afterwards and shared something that had happened for you. So I'm curious about that space between you and I having the conversation, you realizing you want to start moving into partnership, which was just a couple of weeks ago. I mean, it's like maybe 3 weeks ago, and today, because something shifted for you. And I would love to share that with the world.
All right. Well, very good. Thank you for your time and your information. But yes, you were sharing about how, as a young woman, before you realized that you were a lesbian, that you had or that you were fluent and very good at attracting men, and that they gave you a sense of power. And I recognized in myself that same issue. Now I had been on a cruise. It was a lesbian focused cruise, and I did meet a lovely woman there, and I don't know where it's going, but that may play into this. I realized that my libido had been completely suppressed. I wasn't attracted to men. I wasn't attracted to anybody, and my sex drive was zero. And then through all this, I found my libido, realized sex was fun, and started exploring the world of kink, and realized I do have very strong submissive tendency. I had body image issues, all kinds of issues that affect how I thought about myself. But I was really getting a lot of energy and just a sense of power from being able to, like, oh, these men are attracted to me, to my body, to my personality. And so even I was, being very safe and not going and hooking up with everybody. But I realized that I was getting this sense of power and control from being able to get them to respond, and also even from telling them no and having them get upset because I wouldn't comply or come be part of their or have any play sessions or whatever with them.
So I'm just curious. I mean,
Mhm.
I know you went through the program, right? So,
Yeah.
um, it's so interesting, right? How this can happen and how, men being attracted to us, and in this case for you, can really give us those feelings. So in a very societal way, like in a big way, this is what we learn, right? If men are really attracted to you and turned on by you and are interested in you sexually, then you have more worthiness and value,
Right.
which is a sort of a byproduct maybe of compulsory heterosexuality. I think it's what we learn, right? So I think that there is a societal effect of what you're talking about, which I think many women experience.
Mhm.
But I think for you, there was another layer to this, which I
Right.
think was similar to what I shared.
Very similar. Some early childhood trauma that had set me up for, well, I had just suppressed any sexuality. I was just, had squashed it. And when I had confidence issues, I didn't feel attractive. I wasn't able to identify sexual attraction or to transmit that I was sexually attracted. So it was like total freeze out. And so when all that woke up after having your class, doing the unboxing your sexuality, and really addressing the issues and trying to understand what was going on, finally my body woke up. But I still had those underlying feelings of uh, not being attractive, insecurity, and didn't know how to be in that power of being sexual, right? But I've found that I was getting this power, this sense of power and control by being able to attract the men. And so it has been quite a change, um, because even though the men were attracted, they all still men want one thing pretty much. They want to have sex. I'm finding again, it's the women that have the emotional depth to be able to, at least for me, to meet me where I need to be. So that's pretty much the crux of what's happening. But it was that realization of why it was making me feel good to the kink world, and okay, the submissive role, that's not surprising to me. I wasn't acknowledging that I was getting this sense of power, and in a sense taking back power that was taken away from me as in my youth. So
And then how does that show up or not show up when you are with a woman that has more emotional depth? Does it just quiet down, or,
it
how does that come in?
yeah, it hits at a different level. Um, as far as the, you have the emotional. Now, that submissive in me is still going to be there. Um, but I don't know. We'll see how the submissive goes with a woman. I haven't found anybody that have had the experience with to see how that will play out. Um, but there's potential in the with the person that I'm seeing at the moment, or hoping to be seen, because it's a cross country kind of situation. But still, that realization has given me the impetus to, okay, that's not ultimately going to be fulfilling. I'm not going to find that partner that I want in a situation where I'm just driving control and not getting the emotional support I need. So it's really been a pretty fundamental realization for me to help me focus on what I need to do to achieve what I want, which is to find a partner, more of long term. So.
Mm-hmm. And the one other question I had for you, Joe, which I was really curious about, was when you were in that place of exploring and,
Mm-hmm.
entering the kink community and finding that a really safe container, and you realized, oh wow, I am desirable, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can really attract people, and I mean, you said men and women, but more,
Correct.
maybe a little bit more men.
In this particular
Um,
site, there have been the women on there as well, but it's been mainly the men.
right. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you were having those feelings of, wow, I didn't realize that I could be so attractive to men, and this
Mm-hmm.
feels really good. Was there any part of you that felt attracted to the men and not just to them being attracted to you? So in other words,
Ooh.
was there like, "Oh God, I can't wait to kiss him and touch him, and I'm so wanting him, even in a submissive way.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm wanting him to do everything to me." Or was it more, "Oh my gosh, I am just loving being wanted, and this feels so good. Like I'm on just such a high from being wanted. I am
Mm-hmm.
open to whatever it is that happens from there, but that's the thing that's turning me on." Are you thinking, maybe I should contact Samantha so I can come on the podcast and have a conversation with her about what is going on with me? If so, go to unboxyoursexuality.com and fill out the form so that you can apply to be a guest on this podcast, and we can talk about whatever it is that is keeping you stuck in the box and unable to live your authenticity. Join me.
Ooh, that's a good question, because that is all part of the trauma response. I think for me has been the people pleaser, right? To want to please others, and that's part of being the submissive. Is that's where you derive uh, a lot of the satisfaction or the attraction. But what physically am I attracted to? Um, it's really not so much a physical; it's more of a personality. But yes, there's this huge component of, hey, they like me, so let's see what I can do. How, what can I do to keep their attention? And
Mm.
that's how I've approached previous relationships. That didn't work out well. Um, so I've recognized that, and I've done some other things to, like a woman that I have really a big emotional attachment to, and we're really, really good friends. But she's in the messy middle of a divorce and stuff. Um, and one of the things I did was talk to her and just told her, I don't know the depth. I know that you're not in a place to be open to that at this moment. And the friendship is more important to me than any of the other. So when you are in a space to be able to look at something for the future, say, think of me, because we have such similar alignments of what we want out of life. Um, but she's not in a place to receive that right now because she's got her own stuff going on. Um, which is very
But what I
similar to my
love,
story.
yeah, but also what I love about this, that's making me a little bit emotional, is just that you coming out and saying that was your desire. That wasn't
Hmm.
about people pleasing, and it wasn't about
Yeah.
power or control. This was about, I am feeling pulled to you,
Hmm.
and you might not be in any kind of place to even consider this, and
Right.
that's okay. But oh my God, I am having these feelings,
Hmm.
and I'm speaking for them, and I'm telling you that I'm feeling them. And to me,
Right.
that is such a huge win, and so
Yes.
very different from our last conversation.
Yeah.
So I love
Hmm.
this.
And what's interesting is that it's not the woman that I was met on the boat. This is actually who was my roommate and lives locally and is a good friend. And and so then I told the woman that I was attracted to about the other person. She was like, "What do you want? What do you want from relationships?" And asking me all these questions. And what kept coming to my mind was I didn't feel comfortable pursuing anything with the new person without having established something. I said, "I want you to know I am attracted to you. I don't know what that means because I'm still kind of a new lesbian, but and she's been a lesbian for, a long time. And 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 she was very open to it. The risk is that going to ruin the friendship?
Right,
Um And I tried to be very clear. I said the friendship is the important part. I don't know that there would ever be anything else, but I see the potential. We want the same things out of life. We're very aligned on many, many things. Um, but I know that you're not there. So just when you get there, let me know. And depending on where I am, we'll see if there's anything else beyond that. Um, and she was very open to it. And she said, "You're going to make me cry." And
aw,
we just it moved forward. But when I told the new person that she was the one who was asking these questions, that prompted me to think, what do you want? And my answers kept coming back to this other person. And so I told her, and she's like, "Oh, I can see that because you all would be a good match." Then at the same time, we have our own attraction going on, so it's just a whole different level of communication that, I mean, I'm not getting from any of the men.
right.
Um, so, and I realized at the time this is a big departure from what my normal patterns have
Yeah, I
been.
love this. Yeah. I mean, it's much more it's much more nuanced, and it has, like you said, depth. It's like levels and layers to it
Mhm.
of emotional complexity. It's not just, oh my God, you're hot and I want you. It's
Right.
like,
Yeah.
it's what do you want? What are you looking for? Oh, that person sounds like it could be a good match for you, but also we have a connection, and what is this
Hmm.
connection about? And
Right.
it's not just about sex. And that's not to
Sex.
say that there isn't that desire to
Hmm.
want to be physically close and, sensual or sexual as well, but it's not just that. There's a lot of other layers to it.
Correct. And yeah, so it's very, very complex. And we talked a little bit last time about my tendency to jump in way too fast.
Yes.
And so this is more of a long-term friendship that's been going on. She's like, slow down. Things will happen as they're supposed to happen. Just, if it works out, it works out. But it's a balance, right? She balances my tendency to jump in and wallow around and just go too far too fast. So it's been just as life is. It's just been a huge learning curve, and I have no idea where's things are going to land. I don't know. That power struggle doesn't have to happen. If it's just about power and just about control on my end, getting that sense of power that I had lost for so long, um, that's not going to fulfill me in the long run. So it was just a very important revelation to myself. So thank you for
Yeah.
sharing your story, because we seem to have some similarities in our youth. So
Yeah, yeah. And I think this is common. You know, there are, of course, many ways people overcompensate for the things that they've lost
Mhm.
early on, and that, that was the way I did it. That was the way my system figured out how to feel powerful.
Mhm.
And because of the trauma and the need to be powerful, it kept me from realizing I was gay, which I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure that I was gay all the way, from the beginning. At
Right.
least for me,
Mhm.
and we're all on a spectrum, and there's absolute fluidity in sexuality. But when you have these complex early traumas around your sexuality, there is absolutely the possibility that something like this kind of a dynamic could play out and really feel confusing. In
Mhm.
fact, people, even like my mom being like, "Oh my God, when I told her I was gay, she was just like, you were always so boy crazy. I don't understand. You were so, so crazy about boys." And
Mhm.
that's how it looked to the outside world.
Right.
But that's not really what it was for me. It was just about having control and power. And
Yeah.
so, for anybody out there that's listening, this is a journey you can take and think about and do some self-exploration and be curious about at any point in your life, right? So
Mhm.
early, late, it doesn't matter when, but just to really think about, are you constantly seeking just that others are interested in you and that gives you power and control? Or are you actually actively also feeling that same kind of desire that they're feeling for
Mhm.
them? And on many levels, right? On the sensual
Right.
level, but also on an emotional level, and just kind of check in with yourself. I think it's a really important discovery for you.
Mhm.
And also, I mean, interesting, because last time we talked, Joe, you said to me, I know I went through your program, and most of the women are queer or lesbian, but like I'm really I'm not too sure I am,
Right.
and I actually think I really actually kind of like men,
Right.
and that's who I've mostly been interacting with. And then for you to then have this discovery and realize, oh wow, that's coming from power and control, and
Mhm.
feeling wanted and feeling valuable, and that's not coming from me wanting.
It's not a physical attraction to them, it's that energy that I get of being wanted. So
Yes.
which is not enough to establish a relationship with.
Yes. Yes. Oh, I'm so excited about this discovery. This is such a win. Yay. I love this for you. Thank you so much for coming and sharing this news with
Uh-huh.
us and with the world.
All right. Well, thank
And
you.
yeah, and I look forward to further discoveries and exploring those with you as well. So reach out anytime.
All right. Thank you so much, Sam.
Okay. Bye, Joe. Thank you for spending this time with me on Unbox Yourself with Samantha Fox. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps more folks find these conversations. If you're ready to unbox from something that's keeping you stuck, I would love to support you. You can find the application to the show at unboxyoursexuality.com. Let's stay connected. Find me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Lesbian Curiosity Coach. Give me a follow and join the conversation. Remember, we only have this one time through. Why not unbox yourself and let your true self shine in all its beautiful glory?